Hi everyone, welcome to the Learning Pro Live. It's me, Cath Ellis, and today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. We're going to talk about learning experience platforms. It's not often that a learning designer gets to spend some time with companies and go under the hood and see exactly how to use their product and design with it. And I'm so excited to introduce the guest today. Her name is Danielle Hamilton, and she is from THRIVE Learning. Hello, Danielle. Lovely to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
We were literally just having a chat a second ago about, it's not often that a learning designer gets to see actually demos of things. A lot of the time it's clients who are going out and or who are reaching out to you and asking for demos of your learning experience platform. So we've got a couple of people that are tuned in. I'm just going to quickly say hello to them and let us know, guys, where are you tuning in from and what would you like to know from Danielle? Because we've got a really unique opportunity here to see THRIVE's learning experience platform and ask her questions about how would you use it to design content. Anyway, Danielle, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with THRIVE.
So myself, I've been in the learning industry for quite a long time now. I won't say how many years. I started my career at Kineo, which then became Sitting Guilds, and then I moved on to Fuse. I then had a stint working in L&D, so actually on the client side, which was really interesting.
The dark side.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then after that, I went straight into building Thrive. So Thrive's been around. The LXP's been launched. We launched it 2019 February, so at LearnTech. So it's been around for about a year platform-wise, but actually before that, we were developing our products and our content and stuff for quite a while. So I joined pretty much at the beginning. And with a few other, so myself and a few other directors that set it up. And we've all come from different parts of the industry. So as I said, Kineo and Fuse, whereas some of the other directors came from MindClick and Learning Pool, Calidus, Litmus Heroes, which I know obviously have been bought, and BYG. So we sort of came together as a bit of a group, of a collective from the industry to start Thrive. It's exciting. It's
so weird because here in Australia, it's I use the word incestuous. Everyone kind of comes back together. They go off and they do something and then they come back, and really interesting. And I can see Thrive would have been just all these. Well, the name of it's great because it's all great minds coming together and putting loads of ideas together. We've got Tom who's been tuning in on nearly every episode. Hi Tom. He says morning from the UK. He says it would be great to get an idea of what makes Thrive different to other platforms out there. So we'll be talking about that, Tom. We'll be getting right into that. I look at Thrive's website and I love the look of it. I love the fun that you guys obviously take to develop content. There's really a personality to your products that you offer. I'm keen to kind of ask you questions about the learning experience platform. So how long has that been live now? How long have you been, have you had the learning experience platform?
So, the LXP, so we launched it LearnTech last year. 2019, and then it's right, isn't it? I forget what year we're in now.
2020.
I know, it's been a weird year. But we were developing it for about sort of 12 months, 18 months before that. So it's been quite a long time in the making. I think it's quite a unique platform in the sense that we had a really cool opportunity to start from scratch. So when I joined Thrive, like my first few days was, because we were working from home at the time, which we are now as well, to be fair, was literally just sat with a blank piece of paper, just going, okay, what's this going to be? Like, what do we want to include in this? Which was really cool. Considering that from a personal perspective, I come from lots using Moodle and TOTRA and Fuse and other platforms as well. And also having that experience being at L&D, like on day one, I think I wrote down like all the things that really annoyed me about not just the platforms, all the problems that I had when I was on L&D. And then thought, okay, this is an opportunity for us to actually fix these problems, which is really cool. So it was a lot of myself and my colleague, our CTO, Mark Ward, sort of just having lots of lengthy conversations about doing things differently, and like we're challenging you're so used to just doing things in the same way, I think, and so you think, oh, we need we need an event teacher, let's just do this, you know. And it was so much of us just saying, no, should we do that? Should we do something different? You know, so it was a really cool experience.
What were the things that you said, we don't want to have this?
I think a big part of it was a lot of the settings and the configuration. So Mark in particular come from working with TOTRA and Moodle because he's from MindClick, and I myself also worked with that at Kineo, and we realised that like with so many clients, and this is a bit of the approach to put it off the shelf as well, you just reinventing the wheel all the time. Like everyone pretty much wants the same thing, but you have about 50,000 options, which makes it so hard to use for an admin and so hard to design for. And no one ever uses half of them. And we're trying to set up a course, and Moodle takes like forever because you've got to try and explain to a client what every single setting means. So that was one thing we definitely were like, we don't want that. And on the content side of things as well, it was very much about not recreating the same GDPR course or the same health and safety course, and actually how can we make things a bit different, and that regards to our style as well. So a lot of off-the-shelf companies we noticed use a very similar branding, which is absolutely like I think the natural thing to do. But we thought, well, then I think from a learner perspective, if you've got 100 modules all in the same brand, you're just going to get just fatigue. So that's when we decided to do every single module in a completely different brand, completely different style to fit the genre. So that's another thing I wanted to change as well. And that's more on the content side though.
And guys, if you haven't seen LearnClick, Thrive, my God, if you haven't seen Thrive's content, you know, you'll see Freddie Mercury and you'll see lots of different themes for all the different all the different types of modules, and I love it because it just they've obviously had a lot of fun putting the content together. I showed it to someone last year when they were looking to buy content off the shelf, and I said, have a look at this, and they said, oh, this looks great, it's so different, you know. It's and this is something that I talk about a lot. We don't always need to be so serious about learning. Got to think about how we enjoy consuming information every day, you know, when we go onto Netflix and things like that. So fantastic. Do you want to show us? The platform?
Yeah,
Love to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Hang on, let me just share my screen.
I'll let you take the lead.
Right, can you see my screen?
Yep, I'm just going to add you up. There we go. I'll move this out of the way. Fantastic. So this is the GUI.
Yes, yeah. So this is our demo site. And yeah, of course, it's a GUI, which is one of my favourite words that I learned in my computer science career. I don't know why, I just found it really funny when I learned that word. So I think, as I was saying about starting from scratch, that was really cool. And I think another thing we did with that is when we did our research at the beginning, I mean, that's a luxury in itself, is to work for a technology company where you actually have time to research. We had, 18 months to research and build, which is crazy. Yeah. So no legacy platforms or systems or code or anything like that. And we spent a lot of the time researching, not learning systems. We actually researched how we consume content in our personal lives. So like you said, like there's already these innate behaviors that we use at home, whether it be learning how to fix your washing machine or, reading your latest article on LinkedIn or what have you. We all do this as just human beings. So how can we essentially leverage some of those ideas and behaviours and using the workplace. So the tools that we researched mainly were things like YouTube, Spotify, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Netflix a bit as well, TikTok, like loads of things like that. And actually thought, well, can we just essentially steal some of these ideas and just make them more applicable in the workplace?
Yeah. So it's like a curated content kind of platform.
Yeah, and it's just simple things like we've tried to make. For example, if you look at I'll show you. If you look at a video in Thrive, you'll notice that the interface looks remarkably similar. Just going to pause that before it starts playing. To YouTube. So we spent a long time designing this interface for videos and trying to come up with something different. And then in the end, we were like, let's just change it because YouTube, everyone's used to YouTube. So let's just use YouTube. So you've got your like and your share button in the similar sort of place, your related content and your comments and stuff. So you notice it's kind of similar in that sense. So there's some elements which are like trying to use for behaviours, but also there's just the practical side of things as well. Just like how can we actually make it, people just get it and not have to have an instruction manual they log on for the first time.
That makes sense.
So, and I think another thing that we're quite unique on, or we try to do, just to answer Tom's question, is we recognise that when we started anyway, there was a lot of LMSs out there, which are good at obviously managing learning. And there are some more social platforms, but they either weren't so good at the managing learning or they're a little bit messy and a bit confusing for people to find stuff. So we actually thought, well, how can we bring those two worlds together? We work with a lot of clients who want to do all the LXP stuff. They want to do all the fun stuff and the cool stuff. And that's what the learners want. But ultimately, they have to do your compliance tracking and all the boring stuff as well.
Yeah.
So we wanted to sort of pull those words together and just sort of try and find a bit of a middle ground between the two as well. So people can do the fun stuff and they don't have to opt for an LMS because they have these reports they've got to produce once a year or what have you.
Yeah. So how do you overcome that? What happens if someone's got a SCORM? It still goes on the site? Yeah,
so it supports SCORM, absolutely. So I can post up here, and you've got eLearning as an option. So these are the content types that we support. So you've got uploads, which is videos and files and things like that. Links, so you can paste in a link to YouTube or TED Talks or whatever, a website. You can write articles, so that's like a LinkedIn article you write straight onto the site. You can post questions. You can create pathways. I'll show you these examples a bit later if you want. eLearning, quiz, like a multiple choice quiz, and then an event. So you notice that things like event and eLearning are quite, LMS-y.
Yeah.
Whereas things like questions are a bit more social. So we've tried to sort of pull those worlds together a bit. And that comes back to what I was saying earlier about trying to strip back some of the stuff as well. I think LMSs are just they've just been built on so much over time from various requests from clients as well, and weird and obscure things people need to do, and they've just become these monsters. So we were like, okay, let's be really, really strict with what we do add and what we don't add. And we still do that today as well. When we get client requests come through, we're quite challenging with our clients in the sense that if someone asks something, we'll always ask, well, why do you want to do that? What problem are you trying to solve? And try and get to the bottom of it and actually see if there's a different way of doing that or a more simple way, rather than just sort of sticking lots of different bits on and becoming this mess that you end up having to support.
And they'll just re-engineer basically an LMS back into it because that's what they're used to instead of...
Absolutely, yeah. So even now, like, we get quite a lot of clients, particularly at demo stage, sort of during the sales process, you'll show them the events feature, say, and they'll say, well, has it got this, and this? And then when you actually ask, well, why do you need those things? Do you use them now? And they're like, well, we currently have it on our LMS. I'm like, do you use them now? And they're like, well, no, not really. And it's like, well, do you need them? So it's just getting people to sort of question themselves a little bit more and just think a little bit more about what they actually need and what their learners actually need as well.
Is this, are learners being allocated to certain... So let's say the video here from Emma, great sales tips from Emma. Can that be, is it self-directed learning? Is it a bit like a Netflix where people go in and can choose what they want to do, or are they actually assigned to certain modules?
But it's a bit of both. Let me talk you through the front page, because that will probably help explain some of the elements. So, so up here, this is the area that your admins can control. So you've got highlighted content, which you can that's manually selected by an admin, right. But it is audience specific. So if I work in sales, it'll be different to marketing or what have you. Yeah. And that's generally used for either pushing really important training, or it could be a lot of our clients use Thrive for learning and comms, which is a trend that we're seeing happen a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really interesting. Yeah,
which is a really cool space to be in. It's something that we definitely set out to do from the beginning. So during my time at Fuse, we had a few clients do that, but it wasn't quite set up for comms, in the sense that I think people were using it for it, but it was kind of a natural evolution. So when we started designing Thrive, I was quite keen to add in some features that also allow for better comms as well. I can sort of see that there's a trend of learning and comms teams coming together. So with Thrive, in theory, people can replace their learning system and their intranet and the comms tool.
That's nice.
Yeah, which is super cool, because then you've got the ability for people to use Thrive as part of their day-to-day operational lives. If you're getting a message from your CEO, what have you, you're more likely to go in, and then when you're in, you might then see some learning, and it sort of becomes part of a day-to-day rather than just something you do separately. Yeah. So that's what this area here is for. And we've also got this campaign feature, which allows you to set up literally a marketing campaign. So this one's around return to work, but it could be around an event or initiative. Maybe you've got like a system change in the business, a new product launch, or even something more like a bit softer. So mental health awareness week, that sort of thing.
That's great.
And what you can do with the campaigns, you can set dates, and you can add your content in. It's scheduled to go out at different dates and times. So this is one of the challenges that I wrote down on my first day, was when I was working for a big pharmaceutical company, trying to run an LXP, and a big thing about LXP is engagement, right? Is that actually you're not necessarily telling people to go there, so you need to actually get them to want to go there. How do you do that? And so I was having to set up marketing campaigns outside of the platform, create HTML emails and put reminders in my diary to send out emails at certain dates and times, which it's just absolute pain. So this tool came from that as a problem that we wanted to solve. And so what you can do is add in your content, and you've also got the ability to add a unique hashtag, and then users can share content. So say in the days when we are going to conferences again, say someone's taking photos and videos and stuff, you can tag it, hashtag LearnTech 2021 or what have you, and it would then appear on the feed, which is cool. So that's the area that you can control. And then to answer your question about how things are pushed, everything below your purple bar here then becomes completely personalized to that specific user, in the same way you get on Netflix or YouTube or what have you. There's loads of different things you can do. So this page is quite busy. We've added in lots of different components, which are these boxes. So you can see you've got quite a lot, but this is for demo purposes. But you've got things like essential learning. So you can, like an LMS, assign content to people. So you can say this needs to be done by this date, by this audience, and you can see these two things are overdue.
Overdue, yeah.
So that's your LMS side of things. Then you've got more kind of, like you said, Netflixy style in the sense of recommendations. So what you can do as a user, when you log in for the very first time, we actually ask two questions. We ask, what do you want to learn? And what can you teach others? And people can select from a bunch of topics, which become your skills and your interests over time. So this is like me saying, when you sign up to news sites sometimes, there's you're interested in tech or music or fashion or what have you. You can just sort of click a bunch of tags, and that will then impact what you see on the front page. In general, and they appear over here as well. These are your filters. Yeah. That's your sort of second layer. So that's allowing a user to say, well, actually, I want to see this. And then the third layer is basically behavior. So as you go through the site, you've got a bit of a Tinder style dismiss option. And yes, as well as for UX inspiration. You can also pin content as well, which appears up here. So that's from Pinterest. So you can pin content, you can like it, you can share it. It also looks at what your team's doing and what you're looking at. And then it sort of understands a bit more about your behavior, and then we'll suggest content based on that. So that's the clever bit. Yeah, and then other things like what's new. This is just literally new content. So those using it for comms, this is really good for just pushing out messages. Then we've got a few fancier things like how long have you got? So this allows you to sort of filter down by time. And then the final thing on the front page, I guess, because this will be configured completely differently depending on the client, but is this area, which is people. So this is a really big area for us and really important on a personal level, for me anyway. When I was at this pharmaceutical company, it was 70,000 people, really big company, not worked at a company like ours before, and just found it really, really hard to like grow my network and know who to go to for things. And you know what it's like, you end up sort of asking for recommendation from, I don't know, your line manager, say, and they'll recommend someone, that person recommends someone, and you end up with this network, but it's kind of a bit biased depending on where you start. You're not necessarily getting the right or the best people you could do. So the idea of this is just to start recognizing, I think, that not all learning can be online, and so much learning actually can be with human beings, real people. And so this will recommend experts to me and collaborators. So I've said that I'm interested in leadership, and this guy, Tony, is an expert in leadership. If I look at his profile, I can then see I can see loads of my admin, but I can see his contributions, which is the main thing that a learner would see. These are things that he's posting. And then I can follow him, which also impacts my feed. So a bit like on Instagram, you follow someone or Pinterest, and it will then impact what you see in your feed. So if you've got someone who's like really good blogging about, I don't know, UX design or what have you, then you can follow them. And
so is this allowing any of the users to create content? Yeah,
so you can restrict it. So on your little plus here, you can basically turn these on and off for end users. So like a really common one is eLearning normally always goes off. Well, actually, no, it always goes off 100%. I've never had a client want an end user to upload SCORM, obviously. So different clients start with different things. And then you can also restrict it based on group, like who they can share with. So a really common one is like, okay, you can share with your team or your department, but you can't share with the everyone group because we have these audiences set up. It depends also on how ambitious the client is. I'll show you a different site. Hang on a second.
I know I hear this from a lot of people, and I'm sure, Tom, if you're still here, Tom, I'm pretty sure you will be. You will have heard it as well when people go, but what if they put the wrong content up? And it's like, you can't get so bogged down, because right now you could have that individual in the company sharing that piece of information to other people in their team. So you've got to, still have an infrastructure that you can have people monitor the content, but not worry too much, because the likelihood of something being incorrect is going to be so minuscule, So
it's a question we get asked all the time. We actually get asked two questions. One is, what do you do if someone puts something up there that's like, inappropriate? And I've been doing it for quite a long time. UGC never ever had a situation with that. In the same way that someone wouldn't email the whole company something inappropriate. Your face is on there, your name, you're under contract. Like, you're gonna get told off. You're gonna get disciplined. Like,
I've heard the same from massive organizations, like huge government departments. But what if they write something, rude or swear, and it's like, do you have that now? No, you don't.
I don't.
Why is it happen?
It's so bizarre.
For God's sake.
I never get that question. Like, if you're allowed like anonymous posting or anonymous comments, then I kind of get it. But so never had that happen. And then the one that people worry about more is what they post like incorrect. And like, you're totally right. People are doing this every day, like sharing this knowledge via face-to-face, phone, email, WhatsApp, what have you, and you've got no visibility of it. So actually what the LXP gives you is visibility if they are posting through there, and you can actually then jump in and correct it if it is wrong. And also, like you said, like, if you're trusting these people to do a job. They need to kind of trust that they know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's craziness. Tom's laughing his head off here. He's saying, ha, 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 all the time, trust your people. They know their stuff usually. And it's so true. It's absolutely true, Tom. You know,
it is. Like, you don't get on a plane and think, oh, can this pilot fly this plane? Do you? Like, you just wouldn't even think about it. You just have to trust at some point. So yeah. I was just pulling up this site just to show you a different example, because these guys, Decium, they're a beauty brand. We use them as an example quite a lot because they're just really embracing everything. So they're using the site for learning, comms, internet, everything.
That's great.
And they've just seen the most incredible engagement and the most beautiful feedback. So they're really like, you know, those clients that actually take all your advice, which doesn't happen that often. It's really
beautiful thing.
Yeah, and so these guys, as you can see, they're using the campaigns of Black Lives Still Matter, so still trying to keep the conversation going. They've got a slightly more simple front page, just of events they're running at the moment, which is all live events, newest stuff, and then they've got people. So you can just see a different way that it might look. But yeah, I just like absolute credit to these guys for embracing everything and really like all user generated content is allowed, and they've seen some just incredible results from it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially the term social learning. I'm a huge fan of Julian Stodd, and you know he's a massive advocate for social learning, and I think social learning is a term that people are really quite confused about. I think this idea in which staff are actually curating a lot of content for the organization is really fascinating. So they've had some great success stories. This organization, have they, you know, having the staff embrace it and sharing a lot of their knowledge with one another?
Yeah, absolutely. So they've got things like the TikTok campaign recently. Actually, see if I can find it. What was it called? My first sourdough as well. So yeah, they've done this like little campaign. So this is an example of end user content. It's very, very short. So that's just one of the guys, Brian. Love a bit of Brian.
Yeah.
Who created this little video about this particular skincare product and just a bit of product training, really. So they did the TikTok challenge. Everyone like creating loads of videos. It's just an example. And there's loads of stuff like that that's gone on the site. And you can see also they're using it for a lot of like, it's a really nice question they've got on there. Who can make your life really inspires you? This is a question that someone asked as part of like a leadership discussion, and you can see it's just a simple question. The amount of responses from people talking about what inspires them is just incredible. Just keeps going and going. And so they're using it for, I think one of the big things for Decium was when they started is they've got a global team, very dispersed, they've got retail stores, they've got warehouses, they've got head office, etc. And they did a lot of surveys around, they're very fast growing as well. I think it's probably worth saying. They haven't been around that long. They had they didn't really have a culture yet in that sense. They sort of did, but it hadn't really like permeated the whole business. And there's quite a disconnect between retail and head office, which is really common. So part of the reason of putting in Thrive, they wanted to sort of generate a bit more of a culture as a company and feel a bit closer. So one of the first things they did was they did this department challenge where every department made a little video introducing themselves, a bit of competition and stuff. But it was really nice because then everyone got to see all the different parts of the world and different departments. And since going live, they've had feedback from end users, things like, and I'm quoting here, like Thrive makes us feel like a family and all this sort of stuff, which is really lovely to see that it's actually affecting people on a personal level, not just their learning as well, sort of making them feel a bit more connected, which is great.
So would you say that this is actually somewhat replacing a function like email? Are people messaging one another through Thrive? Is there that kind of mechanism, or are they just communicating through articles?
Yeah, so we don't have like a chat function, so we're not trying to replace like a Slack or a Skype or something like that.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's a time and a place for that, and sometimes you want to ask just a specific question to someone.
Yeah.
But I guess what we are kind of trying to replace is like any sort of mass emails or emails with attachments, I'd say, is a good rule. So,
yeah,
if I was going to email an attachment to my team, so I do like a monthly report for my team, about what's going on in the business and stuff. If I was going to email that to like 6 people, say, then I'd probably put that on Thrive, because that's what they want to get back to, and it's a communication message. It's not something that's really done an email. And then emails are more for like specific client stuff, what's going on in this project or what have you. That's sort of my general rule of thumb, but everyone uses it slightly differently. We do have clients who also use it just for learning. So they're quite strict, and they've already got another tool or method they use for comms, and it's like, no, this is just for learning. And some use it in a really traditional way as well. So they'll have scorms and events, and they're a bit nervous about some of the UGC stuff, so they might start with that. And I think that's the beauty of Thrive, is that you can move from an LMS environment to Thrive and just use it as an LMS, and then build up and sort of turn on those features. Obviously, we're going to be encouraging you to turn those features on because it's a much better learning experience. But yeah, you can do that as well.
And what about, do you have any connections to learning record stores or anything like that?
We actually built our own learning record store.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which is cool. So then we're toying between the beginning. Do we build our own? Do we integrate with something? And in the end, we're really keen to keep as much as we can ourselves. I think we've been a bit burned from working with, Moodle and Tota in the past. And obviously you're so beholden to their development, their roadmap, which is absolutely fair enough because that's how it works. But it does make it quite frustrating because, there's things you want to do and you have to sort of develop plugins and all the rest of it. So we're quite keen to keep as much as possible in-house. So we built our own LRS. So everything in Thrive is based on XAPI. So I look at this video, for example, just go back to this, there's a little activity button. And you can see like everything is tracked. So every review, every like, every pin, every unpin, every share, and every search. So how people got to this video through searches and stuff. And all the results are tracked as well. So like how far through they got through a video in this case, and that sort of thing. And that gets logged as XAPI statements, which just makes it really
great. Really very rich data that you'll be pulling from this system. That's great.
Yeah, it's cool. We just actually implemented a new search as well, using a thing called Elasticsearch, and that allows us to also look at things like what are people searching for most, but also what are they searching for and not finding, which I've learned recently are called Orphaned Searches, which is quite a sad name, but I quite like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm searching for like leadership, for example, and say I didn't find anything, which is obviously unusual for leadership, then it would also log that, and I could then see what are people searching for. And actually, back to that people thing I was saying earlier, just while I'm at the search page, the content is returned from search, but also the people. So this is about, I want to find someone who's got good presentation skills, then I can search for that and then connect with them and all the rest of it.
That's great. We were talking about this recently. We did an e-learning competition. I did a conference last month. It was called the Learning Conference, and we did a e-learning competition called the Show, and it was a lot of fun. And we had 60 odd participants, and it was kind of the Hunger Games of e-learning, and they did like a battle with one another, and they were doing different things like building chatbots, and we were having conversations about Alexa and how in the back end, if you ask Alexa for a term and there's no response for it, it'll log it. Yeah, I've got Alexa now talking. So we were just talking about how rich that is. So that is great that it's actually picking up terms, because it allows you to understand what the company needs. So you can then
Definitely. And I think people also, because like we ask people, what do you want to learn in Thrive? And there's an element that people know what they want to learn, but there's also an element that people don't quite realise it, I think. And so if you look at the search data, then it's really useful. And also little things like there's a section on the admin page, which is a really boring section, but I really like it. This is where you build, create all your tags. And
you see, learning designers, we love this stuff, right? So, you know, the data never lies. So yeah, great.
Actually, you know what? I'll use this site instead because the data is a bit more, well, it's more realistic because it's actually a live site.
Okay.
But I just, there's this tag page that I really, really find very useful. Because what it does, it shows you all the tags that you've built on the system, and our tags are used for skills and interests and just generally describing content, so topics and stuff. And it will show you how many people are interested in a tag, skilled in a tag, and how much content you've got. So, for example, on Decium, HR perks, you've got 165 people interested and only one piece of content. So then you can ask yourself, maybe I should make some more content about HR perks. So it's quite a cool way of identifying content gaps, and this is something we're developing a lot over the next year or so. This is just raw data at the moment, but how can we actually make it a little bit bit sexier, and with some graphs and pictures and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's cool. But I think that's really important for us as well, is that there's a lot of people that talk about data, but not necessarily what the result of using that data. So I can pull out a bunch of data and that's great, but if you don't interpret it, then it's kind of useless. So we want to make sure that we're actually building in tools that help clients make suggestions about how they could change and how they could update. It could be on a weekly basis, like, hey, did you know this video got loads of views this week and did really well? We think it's because it was this long and from this person and that sort of stuff. So a bit more insights.
Oh, that'd be great.
It'd be really cool. Yeah, that's sort of where we'd like to take that area.
Tom, have you got any questions? Because I'm pretty sure you will have stuck on this session. We've got a few people watching, but they're all being quiet mouses. If I, for example, was talking to a client and I said, look, there's different LMSs out there, reach out to Thrive, have a chat with them. This is all cloud-based, isn't it? So how long is the implementation? I know it depends on an organization size and what customizations they need, but is it a fairly quick setup, or do they get it raw and do they customize it?
Yes, it is cloud-based. We don't do any customizations at all in the sense of custom code. We obviously change the colors and that sort of thing, but that's something the client can do. We kept that really simple as well with the theming. So you can literally upload a logo, you can select 5 colors, which sort of just permeates throughout the site automatically. The branding takes minutes to do. And with regards to the implementation, the onboarding, the size of the company, doesn't actually always make that much difference. So we say between 8 to 12 weeks. And the main thing that affects that is how fast the client can move. So we would normally on your first day, with us, we'd sort of give you the site and brand it, and it's kind of there. Most of our onboarding is and it's something that's quite unique as well, is that we don't really focus on, it's not about admin training. It's not about the technology. It's not about showing you how to use the site. We actually have a series of 6 workshops, which are all around things like how to launch a site, how to create a good marketing campaign for it, how to create engagement campaigns, how to position it in the business, which is a really big one. So don't confuse what's it for.
Mindset. Yeah,
exactly. Things about learning culture. We cover things like KPIs, how you're going to measure success, which we actually try and get people to do rather than just set them and forget about them. Content creation is a big one. So that's normally the biggest time. So we have a workshop on content strategy, so trying to create a content plan. And then also content creation, which is about how you can actually approach content in a different way, in a quicker, more effective way. And then obviously there's a few bits around data and integrations in there as well. But a lot of it is actually how to support an LXP and make it the best it can be. Because when it comes to actually using it, I actually went to an admin training session once at the very beginning. I set one up with a client because they asked for one. And so I was like, okay, they sort of assumed they needed one. And I got to the session and both of them said, we don't need this, Danny. We've actually worked it all out. Because it's really easy to use, because we kept it really simple. So it's really lovely. It's really good to hear. So we do have that. We can offer admin training and stuff as well. We do have loads of how-to videos, all the rest of it. But I've not really ever had a client ask a technical question to me, I don't think, which is crazy.
Well, I mean, that was, Tom said that was my question, Cath. So come on then, Tom, ask another question then. So I think, here you go. He says, because it comes up far too often, does it integrate well with SAP and Microsoft-based platforms, Teams, etc.? Please note, this isn't something I like asking, but so many clients ask for me. Yeah.
I like that you said you didn't like asking it. I also hate those questions as well. We get in RFPs all the time. Do you integrate with X? And I said this to clients, like, it's the worst question they could possibly ask, because most providers, the answer would be yes, because like technically yes, an integration is always generally possible. But what clients should really be asking is, this is what we want to do. This is the journey we want the data to take, or the user to take, or whatever it might be. Can you achieve that? And I wish they'd ask that more often, because it's so much easier to answer in a way, or more honest to answer. The most common integrations we do is HR integrations. So for creating accounts, amending accounts, and removing accounts. So we do integrations with Azure as a really common one on the Microsoft side, but also if someone wants to integrate with SAP or something, we've got open APIs we use and webhooks to do an integration. So that's kind of all straightforward and fine. We do actually have an integration with MS Teams coming out next week, it should be. We're just waiting for Microsoft to sign it off. That's a different integration in the sense that it's not to do with data, it's more around, we're sort of trying to get a few more things in the learning and the stream of work area. So what this integration will let you do is, if you're in a room in MS Teams, you can subscribe that room to an audience in Thrive, which means that if, say, I post something in the sales audience in Thrive, it would automatically post in the MS Teams group that's linked to that.
Right.
Just to make sure that people are seeing stuff where they actually are. If you're in MS Teams chatting away in a group and someone posts something, it would actually then just show you that in there as well.
Right.
Which is cool. So we've got some more planned MS Teams integrations, because it's obviously such a big thing, particularly now over the next 6 months. But that's our first step. But yeah, I think when it comes to integrations, as I said, like, they're all possible. It's just depends on the software that you're integrating with and what exactly you want to do. So I do wish clients would actually just describe the journey in plain English, rather than just say, do you integrate with this?
Tell you exactly what they're looking at, what they need.
Yeah.
What about things like webinars? How do you handle, if someone wanted to do a webinar to the organization? Would that just be via like a YouTube live and embed it?
We've got an events tool. So you can set it up through here. So this is an example of an event. So this is about Q&A for health and wellbeing. It's in London, so I can sign up to the event. And then when I sign up to the event, I get a little countdown appear. If there's any other attendees, I'll see this down here as well. An event can be, you can have multiple sessions. So this is quite LMS in the sense that you can have multiple sessions, multiple occurrences, different options and stuff. You can also say whether it's a webinar or not. So if I edit the event, you've just got a little webinar toggle that you can toggle. And if it is a webinar, you can put the URL in. So we don't have our own Webex type thing, or Zoom. We're not trying to compete with those, because that's just the whole thing in itself. But what you can do is you can stick the link in here, and then at the sort of 10 minutes before the event, what it will do is it will just appear here. So you have the join now button.
That's cool.
We got asked, and this is the same my whole career, I've always been asked, like, do you do integrations with webinar tools, Webex, that sort of thing? And when you actually get down to what do you mean by integration, like what do you actually want to do, it's so often it's just that they want a link. They just want a button that says join now, and it's really obvious. So we've got that, and then we're also actually releasing a feature towards the end of the year called broadcasting, which is quite cool. It's being part funded by Decium, actually, and that will allow you to literally do like live broadcasts, but like we're doing now. And that's going to be supported to, I think we're doing 12,000 people. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's like up to 12,000 people, and you can do things like polls and reactions and stuff. So we're hoping that would help a little bit with people who either haven't got a webinar tool, so it's an element of delivery, but then saying that most companies do. But also for the comms side of things. So if we wanted to do, if I'm a CEO, say I wanted to broadcast a message, then I could do that through broadcasting, which would be really cool.
Yeah, it's Tom said that's an awesome answer. He said that Teams integration sounds really valuable. So I know that's his world right now. Those are some of the tools that he's using. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It really is about getting people to think a little bit outside the box. Like I say about things like webinars, just download it. Once the webinar's done, download it and plonk it on for people to watch if they're interested in their own time. It's not necessarily something you need integrated in. There's always ways that we can work around it. So
definitely. Or even cut it up as well. Like, what it's like in a webinar, there's so much faff around. Yeah, exactly. But if you can take it down, then cut it up into key questions or key concepts that you want to put forward. A bit like this one now we're doing, right? I'm sure there's been bits that you could probably cut out of us just chatting or what have you, or me trying to load up a page.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. Well, I have to say, I think it looks great, and I love that you can pin content. You can use it as a communication tool, and obviously for the more mundane kind of compliance stuff, it's still got that kind of functionality that you can still pump out a SCORM to team members, and seems like it's really a one-stop shop for or as I call it, it's a source of truth for an organization, and it's nice to I've tried to implement this kind of thing in a different type of LMS, and it's just not been successful. Staff don't want to interact into it because it doesn't have this social element that you've built. So I think it's great.
Oh,
I think it's great.
It's
and if
sorry, you go.
No, go on, Danielle. Go on.
I was just going to say, I think you're right in the sense that what we're sort of trying to do is create this internal Google, really.
Yeah.
So rather than someone getting stuck at work and they say, well, Google it, you should say, well, thrive it. It's not going to catch on as an expression, but you see what I mean.
Yeah.
With that as well, it's probably worth mentioning. Another thing we were trying to solve was content deficit, so no content. So with Thrive, you can absolutely upload your own content, add your own links and that sort of stuff. But we also have these auto curation tools. So we've got an integration with a company called Get Abstract, which are I don't know if you know. Do you know Get Abstract?
No, I saw you had Anders Pink.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it a similar kind of thing?
So, sort of. So these guys, they're more of a library of content. So they create sort of abstract or short versions of business books. They have 20,000 books available. So this one's about coronavirus and teleworking. And rather than having to read the whole book, what they do is they pull out the sort of key takeaways. And it's like a sort of short PDF.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so they're really cool. And we've done an integration with them so that if you want to, you can subscribe. They've got loads of different channels like leadership and mental health or what have you. And you can choose the channels you want to subscribe to, and you can automatically pull in their content to Thrive. And the great thing about it is that, one, it's automatic, so it saves you a job, and two, it sits like a piece of content in Thrive, so you can see everything else and say it can be searched and recommended. It's not off to the side in a separate library. It's all part of the same platform. And then similar on Anders Pink, we've got an integration now. Anders Pink, as you know, is a bit different because it's actually trawling the web. So this is a cool tool to use though for Get Abstract is very much at the beginning. You're thinking, okay, I want a set of books on leadership, say. I'm just going to plonk those in from Get Abstract and it's going to pull them automatically. And any updates will come through as well. Whereas Anders Pink is much more about how do I keep the site fresh? How do I keep that drip feed of content coming in? And similar, we've set up 8 different topics you can subscribe to, which we control, and so we control the briefings for those, to make sure they're sort of, you know, decent. And you can subscribe to those, and then it will just drip feed content to your site. This one's about leadership, for example. And again, everything's the same, so your comments and your everything else is sort of all the same. It can be recommended, blah, blah, blah. This was quite a unique thing for us because there's quite a few tools that integrate with things like Anders Pink, but they kind of like, I think Moodle has like this on the, like on the side, you have like a block on the side or a thing on the side. But we really didn't want to have any sort of like segregation with our content. We wanted it to feel like it's all part of the same environment.
Yeah.
Which is why it's pulled through like this. So this is some really cool integrations. And then we've got another one coming out in a few weeks with LinkedIn Learning as well, which is slightly different because you obviously need to be a customer of theirs, and they're relatively pricey. But if they are, then you can pull that content through as well.
That's really cool. And we've got a comment here saying the Google approach to things. I like that, and that's the kind of and this is what I like about systems like this. When I talk to clients, I tend to use language that's maybe a little bit sexier than an LMS or e-learning. You know, I'll call them learning apps, and, you know, refer to things like the Netflix of learning, because they kind of can understand that that is more appealing than, you know, learning management system. So I like how it's all searchable and it's so customizable. Looks great. Cool. Looks great.
Let me stop sharing. I think that's the main things.
No problem. No problem. So if anyone is interested in finding out more, Danielle, about Thrive LXP, just jump on your site, reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Jump on the site. Feel free to message me on LinkedIn if you want to as well. I can point in the right direction. But yeah, if anyone's got any other questions or things I want to chat about, I can chat about this sort of stuff till the cows come home. So as you can probably tell.
Danielle's the right person, but she's just about to go on maternity leave.
That's true, yeah. That's true. I'm about to disappear into the ether somewhere.
Thomas said, are those external course feeds something you'll be continuing to expand?
Yes, absolutely. So what we do with our auto curation tool, we've got it set up now. So you can select your provider and what you want to pull in, which is great. So we've got 3 providers on there now. And our off-the-shelf content, I should mention, is also included as one of those. When we have clients come along who work with a different provider and they want to sort of add that to our auto curation tool, we would just add those in. So LinkedIn Learning, for example, we actually did, because we had a few clients who used that and they were saying they wanted to include it, so we've included it. So we're looking to build it up over time. I don't think we're necessarily build it up, unless we see something really cool, I don't think we're going to build it up proactively. It'll just be based on clients using stuff, because we kind of want to get recommendations. We don't really want to just add loads of stuff in there. Yeah, we're going to expand over time. So that's on our roadmap to do on that sort of ad hoc basis.
Yeah, that's great. Absolutely fantastic. Love it, Danielle. Well, tell your team, not that they care, but I thought it was great. These guys, I'm sure, will all appreciate you just being so transparent, showing us under the hood, showing us how basically as learning designers, we can use your system. If that was something that a client was interested in, to build a really rich learning experience. And I'm sure they're going to have a lot of people, you know, their minds will be buzzing going, oh, that was a great idea. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. And we'll see if we can get you back to talk about maybe even your process of curating your off-the-shelf courses, because I know it's very unique. We were talking about that earlier, about how we're so used to libraries of content having the same look and feel, and they're just so generic. People wouldn't know the difference between one course or another. Yeah. Whereas you guys really create, I think, very unique content. And you also sell off the shelf. You sell it at a bulk price, don't you? For organizations that want to buy a library of content, you do that as well. Yeah. So if anyone's looking for, you know, content for their clients, Thrive, you know, have demos and things. Anyway, I'll stop talking. I'll let you talk. You go ahead and let everyone know.
And what I mean, that's basically it, really. So we have a library of content. I think we've got 130 titles now, and it's a combination of, we've got some SCORM, some e-learning stuff, which is very, very short though, like sort of 8 minutes, some videos, infographics. So we also try and be quite reactive as well. So for example, you know, obviously everything going on at the moment with Black Lives Matters, and also COVID and the rest of it, we've tried to sort of respond as quickly as we can to quite a rapid content creation process, whether that be through like little, infographics and data and that sort of thing, or videos. So when we went through COVID, we did a whole series around how to survive in lockdown. We did also a whole series around return to work. Lots of those resources we give away for free as well, but it's, you know, for a good cause. So yeah, I mean, I think if you wanted to talk on this another time, that would be great. You're probably best to talk to a lady called Emma Layton, who's our Chief Content Officer. She was involved in the whole design, everything of it. And I'm sure she'll, a bit like the LXP for me, she'll chat to you about content till the cows come home.
Well, I'm sure the guys would be really interested in that as well. And the whole point of this, to give you guys who are tuning in an opportunity to see some different products, so that when you are in a position where you're assisting a client, you do have a view of what's out there, what options are out there, and what might be the best solution for a client. So I appreciate, I've taken it nearly an hour of your time, Danielle, so I really appreciate your time. Cool. I know that your puppy is going to want to probably get out of the next door and have play. But thank you. Any last questions from you guys? You have an opportunity here. But while we're wrapping up, I'll just say thank you very much, Danielle. I really appreciate your time. I think it's an absolutely fantastic product that you've got. And just looking forward to the opportunity to be able to recommend it to someone who I'm working with. So,
thank you. Yeah, great. And it's lovely talking to you. And best of luck with the channel. If it goes well, let us know.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Cool. Right, so no more questions, guys. We'll wrap this up. Thank you very much, Danielle. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.